Welcome to the Focused Fundraiser, where we discuss how to focus on the right fundraising practices because we believe that doing more shouldn't be the goal for anybody. Focusing on what matters most should be. Today, I am joined by Elizabeth Scott, who is the Director of Development at GALEO Latino Community Development Fund. Elizabeth, welcome. Super excited to have you on.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Let's start off. Let's dive in, share a bit about your background and how you got into the nonprofit work, what has led you to stay, all of that.
Yeah, so I have been in nonprofit practically my entire life. I started in this career at the League of Women Voters of Georgia. So I just wanted to use my political science degree. I thought I was going to be one of those corporate lobbyists that had no soul. And clearly I went the exact opposite. But I just fell in love with knowing that I'm making a difference. Even if I'm in the back end, even if I'm just the one doing the books or ordering the copy paper, which is what I was doing at the League of Women Voters, the world was getting better because of what I was doing. And that's so important to me, to be able to know that I am making a difference and I am helping in some way.
That's huge. So you started off there. Where did you land? You landed at GALEO. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I've been here about 4.5 years, get to now actually use both my degrees because Galeo does voter registration, voter education, and it's really exciting because I also have a master's now in nonprofit management. So I'm one of those few people who actually uses their degrees, but I ended up here kind of winding through a bunch of nonprofits. And at one point, I was working 7 different jobs while going through grad school because I I didn't have the capability to take off and not work during grad schools. I had a lot of really, really great employers who would look at me and go, "You're in midterms. Why are you here?" So they'd let me take time off to study and have a little bit more flexible of a schedule. But it was a little confusing. And then I got full-time job working for a nonprofit called TechBridge, which is here in Atlanta. And that was my first development job, being able to ask for sponsorships and work on their digital ball that raises over $1 million. And eventually I moved over to Operation Homefront, a national organization that supports active duty military. And I was there for over 3 years and decided to move over to work with my political science and get back into voter education and voter registration and that work. And I was so excited when I saw a job at GALEO because they're an organization I've always respected and had worked with at the League of Women Voters.
Very cool. So you oversee, from what I read, a multi-million-dollar fundraising budget now at GALEO.
Yes.
You went from that to from ordering the copy paper to a multi-million-dollar fundraising budget. What
Yeah.
what has been? I'm curious to know what has been a mindset shift for that you had early on for that when shifting into this role of fundraising, but fundraising at a much larger scale than many.
Yeah. So I didn't really think I could do something like this when I was at the league. I really just kind of thought, "Oh, I'm made for administration work or maybe some programmatic work, but not in charge. I would not be in charge. That was not my role." And I never really thought I could be running something. And so eventually through a lot of people just kind of telling me, "Hey, you really can do this. You can do it." And also wanting to get more involved and really make that difference. And I had a really great person when I was in grad school. I went for one of those informational interviews that they always tell you to do, and it turned into a job offer. It was really one of those I got to hear, "So how much would it take for you to come work for me?" And that was when I got to get into development and working at TechBridge. And really, it changed my mindset. I had some great people to look at and see what they were doing. Our CEO at the time literally sat down with me at one point and he was like, "Okay, you're here. Where do you want to be? And let's walk through your path. And it made a world of difference because it then gave me those metrics that I knew I needed in order to get a development director role.
Now that you are in that role, I would assume that you are collaborating with other fundraisers, or you might have some fundraisers on your staff. Are you now getting to ask those questions and help develop their trajectory?
Yes. So I'm the only fundraiser on our staff in the department, but we do have an amazing person on our team who just completed her master's from the same program that I did. And it's been really great to work with her throughout her program and also try to talk through what are your goals? Where do you want to end up? And try to be that person that I had. I really want to be able to help anybody in any sort of world where they are sitting there going, okay, how do I move forward? And try to be that person either I wanted or I had.
Do you feel like there was any mental hurdles that you had to go through of learning the development director role of, all right, I'm going to make some major gift asks and I'm going to write 6-figure grants and I'm going to create put on a big event that brings in millions or whatever that looks like? Were there shifts or hurdles that you had to get over to imposter syndrome, whatever that looks like?
100%. The imposter syndrome is so real. Every single time that I've managed to accomplish something and it's been impressive in some way, it's been one of those where I have to go back to it and go, hey, you ended up doing the digital ball, and through staff changes, you had to kind of do it almost on your own. And you did that. Good job. Remember, you can do that. Or you wrote this really, really impressive grant and you got it. Good job. Remember, you can do that. And sometimes I go back to something one of my best friends said when I called him up and was like, hey, I have to do this training and I'm a little nervous about doing it. And he was like, okay, what's it on? And I explained it. He goes, oh, I thought it was something you couldn't. And so sometimes I have to kind of put that in my brain of, yeah, this is something you can do. You could totally do this.
That's good. So, I mean, in this new role, or it's not new for you, you've been in there for many years, but in the development director role, you are, I assume, balancing the major gift work and the grant writing work and donor stewardship and all of those pieces. Do you have processes or routines or tools that you recommend that can help you manage those competing demands and making sure that you're aligned with a mission, focused on the right things each week?
Definitely. So a couple things that I do is the planning process is I look at my year as a whole and say, okay, where are my slow periods? Where are the times when I don't have strict deadlines? It's more of you got to get some stuff done. And then I utilize that time to write grants that maybe have open-ended deadlines where I can just get them done, knock them out. So for me, January and February tends to be a very slow couple months for me. So I will apply to as many possible grants as I can during those months. If they usually use the same questions, I might not actually apply, but I'll write it all out. So when in August, September, when I'm really busy and the grant actually opens, maybe I'm already ready to go. I also, when I write something I like, I save it so that I can plagiarize myself and reuse those words because a lot of grantors use the same questions over and over again, and therefore you can kind of reuse. Also, it's a little tip I learned many years ago where I plan my week on Friday for the next week. And I will start with a to-do list, and it's a very short to-do list. I have kind of two to-do lists in a way. One where it's the, hey, don't forget someday you want to do this stuff. And then the actual, you're going to do this. I only schedule 3 to 5 tasks for every day, which I know sounds like, how can you possibly get anything done? But if you kind of start thinking about how many tasks that actually turns out to be, it's 15 to 25 a week. And if you kind of say, and then you start getting to possibly 100 a month, 120 a year and you say you finish that, that doesn't sound so bad. But that also allows for fires, because when a fire comes up, I can still potentially finish my task and deal with the fire. And if I finish everything that I need to do, maybe I can go to the next day or try to figure out some sort of balance. And that has been incredibly helpful to structure, because I'll look at my calendar, look at my day on Friday, and it's the last thing I do is look through and plan out, okay, Monday, I don't have a lot of in-person meetings that I need to do. I can really work on grants that day. And this grant is due next week. So let me work on it then. Versus deadlines suddenly coming up during the week and trying to plan my day every day.
That's good. That's really good advice. So I love the planning piece of it, but I'm going to jump back to the grant side of things. Let's talk about grants a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've called out that you do some big grant and you've won some big grants. Do you have a narrative or technique that consistently seems to win, that you use every time that you're writing grants? And on the contrast, are there things that you've tried that you know that won't work, that you recommend other fundraisers not do?
Definitely found that knowing your data and having accurate data is really essential. So not just data about your organization, but data about the problem. So knowing, for example, that only 4% of people in the C-suite are Latino. That is accurate data. That presents the problem that we're trying to solve, and then puts people there, versus assuming, oh, that when you look around the C-suite, it's mostly white guys. And so that's really one of the things that tends to help. Also, using approachable language and not assuming that people know your acronyms or know the world you're in, and really trying to go where they are. I try to look at the questions and utilize the words that they're using. If they're saying we want to get people out of poverty, then I use poverty. If they are saying we want to deal with low wealth people, I use the word low wealth, because then it shows that I have a connection. And then I also talk to them. Like, that is really, really important to have those conversations. When you're just throwing grants out into the wild and not having a conversation, you're probably not going to have a great success rate.
It's good. Do you have any of the things that you've tried that don't work?
Definitely the throwing the grants out in the wild, where you're acting like you have that pot of spaghetti and you're seeing what sticks. That is really difficult, and not addressing what they want to fund. Because when you're looking at it and going, well, maybe we can fit in here if turn everything upside down or start this brand new program that has nothing to do with what we do. Grantors talk to each other and they know what you're doing, and they don't like it because you've just wasted their time when you show up and you have nothing to do with what they do. You're in the wrong state, you do the wrong population, everything's wrong, and there you are taking up their time. They're going to talk, and potentially you're going to lose a future grant from somebody who you maybe would have received it from, because you just were wasting time.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. And I'm curious to know, so we don't talk about AI much on this channel because I feel like it's overtalked, but I'm just curious to know on the grant side of things, what's your take on using AI? Is it a crutch? Is it a good tool that you utilize? What is it?
I think for some people it is a crutch, because they will just start with it, immediately go with it. I don't use AI very much. Just as an organization, we don't really use it as much, but I will use it to shorten grants when they say do 2,000 characters and I don't think I can cut anything else. I will drop it in AI to see if it can help me and have it still make sense. I will, if I know that I want to say something, but the only way I can say it is exactly the same in the two questions, I might ask AI to say it differently so that then I can run with it. But it's not something you can just throw all the questions in AI and then expect that you have a working grant, because AI doesn't know what you know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about AI, because I think where it can fall short is if you're just asking it to respond to a question and you're copy and pasting it. But if it is a starting off point, or to your point, if it's a refiner, so having that human in the middle 60 to 70%, but either starting with AI or ending with AI, I think that's where it can be really powerful.
Definitely.
Let's jump over to, I'm curious to know your opinion or how you see the state of fundraising today, and also where we're heading in fundraising terms. Are there fundraising and engagement opportunities that you believe uh, nonprofits should start doing now or prepare for? That are you seeing shifts in the fundraising?
Definitely, there's been a huge shift. If you had asked me this question last year, I would have given you a completely different answer, because we don't know what's going on with the administration, what's happening in the fundraising world. Foundations don't know, corporations don't know, individuals don't know. And so, because of that fear, people are sometimes pulling back. Some organizations are giving more to those they know versus adding additional people into the groups. We've had corporations where normally I can make a 30-minute phone call once a year and say, "Hey, how you doing? Here's what we've been up to," and they give me money. And this past year, we got nothing from them because of all the uncertainty. And it's just, people don't know, are the tax laws going to change in my favor or not? Are these corporations, are the tariffs going to affect people? With foundations, nonprofits are being threatened on losing their status. And in the past, you've always known, okay, if a nonprofit loses their status, they probably deserved it. But now there's that uncertainty. Did they deserve it? Was it political? What's going on? And that's caused some foundations to kind of circle the wagons, because they want to fund who they know versus, and know, okay, if they lose their status, it's not because they were bad, it was because of political. While if they're funding the unknown, they don't know. They don't know them that well yet. So the world has changed a lot in the last year, and it's harder. It's definitely different from when I started, when we were the darlings of the world with DEI, and now people are a little afraid.
Mm. Has that changed tactics around how do you approach foundations or how you approach these corporate donors?
Yes, I am honest with them. I I do feel that letting them know we've had a reduction in workforce. We've had to pull back on some of our programs because of funding. Letting them know exactly where we are, and I feel like they appreciate it. Even the ones who are not able to fund us, knowing that we have been affected and we're being very honest with where we are, has at least kept that goodwill going. And it makes me optimistic that when things maybe get back to normal, or things are working a little bit better, some of those foundations who said not right now will be saying, hey, right now.
Yeah. So continuing that relationship, nurturing it, even though it's might be lapsed donor right now.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. Last topic. We're technically over time, but we talked a little bit about this before we hopped on the live channel, which is burnout and being overworked. You're
Yeah.
coming off of, or you're still in the middle of over a month of not having a break. Can you, let's be real. What is that like for you? What is it like for nonprofits? How do we help nurture a culture of non-burnout, that it's not a badge of honor?
Yeah. I am so lucky to work at an organization that values mental health and doesn't want us to burn out. Literally yesterday, I talked with two of my coworkers about it. And both of us were saying, okay, feeling a little burned out. And for me, I basically said to both of them, hey, I'm going to find a Friday of some sort and just take it and make it a 3-day weekend. And at some point. That way I can get back and not feel like I've just been working. And our organization very much values us not burning out. We understand that sometimes, especially election season, we're going to have to work a little harder and maybe work more than 40 hours a week. But when we can, we take those breaks and we try to value that mental health and say, okay, no, you cannot work 14 hours a day, every day, forever. This is not sustainable. And we have those open conversations within our staff meetings of, are you taking your time? Take your PTO. Don't just let it lapse. Do this. And then same with mental health. I'm incredibly open that I have major depressive disorder, and pretty much we will talk about it. Staff members will talk about, oh, my medication has changed, or I really need this break. I need to go exercise and fix my brain. And it's been very healthy for our staff to actually go there with it so that we're not hiding in the shadows, pretending we're not burned out, and then leaving the sector, because it's so easy to get burned out because you know you're doing good work and you know you're making a difference. So you're like, I can't take a break because the people I'm helping can't take a break.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really powerful to have a culture that has a space for you to be truthful, where you don't have the fear of, if I talk about my medication, that might hinder my ability to rise in the ranks or have more influence or whatever that looks like. Having that culture I think is a big piece of that. So that's really cool that you guys have that.
Yeah, it's really awesome to be able to feel like you can be authentic.
All right. Final question I always ask my guests is a tactical takeaway. Elizabeth, what is one thing that every fundraiser should do today that you believe matters most?
I mean, the sarcastic answer was drink some coffee. But I would say sign up for newsletters from people you want money from, so that way you can see what they're currently funding.
Interesting. I love that. I think that's a really good takeaway. Awesome. And it is so focused. I love it. Sign up for newsletters. That's all you need to hear. So Elizabeth, thank you so much for giving your
Thank you.
advice and your expertise. Appreciate you coming on.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So for those listening, go sign up for some newsletters and focus in on what matters most today. If you're curious about how DonorDoc can help you with that in finding clarity and building a strong donor base, you can visit us at donordoc.com. We will see you next week.